I did the wrong one, but I got the right one. Okay, there we go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the S&P Sports Show on this December 15, 2022. I'm your host, Sean Stewart, alongside my co-host, Mr. Anthony Pons, and it looks like we are ready for the World Cup that will happen on Sunday at 10 o'clock on the Fox Network.
That would be
9 Central.
9 Central, 10 Eastern, yes.
And then 7 Pacific, AM Pacific.
If those on the West Coast are that bold enough to wake up that early, sure.
Right. I don't know any West Coast people going to wake that up and watch the World Cup on that hour.
There's crazy enough people out there that'll do it, Sean. If this is going to get this, you got to remember the World Cup is bigger than the Super Bowl, like times 10. There'll probably be like 1 billion people watching on Sunday. That final, 1 billion people live. That's like more than the Super Bowl times like 7 or 8. That's more than the Olympics. That's more than. This is going to be the biggest viewed event in the world.
I believe that as well. But that'll be a great
this 1 out of like every 7 people on Earth is going to be watching this game.
Right, because I want to see what the ratings is for in the U.S. I know everybody else in the country is going to watch it as well.
Because it's on a Sunday and it's near football, I bet the ratings will probably be pretty damn good on Sunday. I'm willing to bet. I don't know about the third place game on Saturday, but that game on Sunday should get some pretty damn good ratings.
Right. And I don't know if Fox is going to show their NFL pregame show around that time. They'll probably show on the cable.
Well, the game starts at 9. It goes till 11.
Okay.
You know, so my guess is it'll probably be like a half-hour pregame show on Sunday.
Right. Just like when CBS did it during the Masters.
They'll probably blend it in, like the end of the game, but then, you got to raise the cup and, all that other stuff. So my guess is Sunday, the game starts at 10 Eastern, and as long as it doesn't go to extra time, we'll be done by noon.
Right.
Right? By 12:30, the festivities will be done, and, they'll be given their stuff, and then the games start at 1.
Exactly. So it should start. So the NFL game should start at 1 o'clock for Fox. It should.
So, people really want their NFL pregame Sunday. They can go to CBS or ESPN.
Right. Or the NFL Network. I forgot about that.
Yep. There's 2 other networks.
And the CBS Sports Network. I forgot about them as well.
Yeah. So there's plenty of options. It's just a matter of doing it, But
right.
It is what it is.
Right. Now let's do the preview of the game on Sunday.
So here's our breakdown for Sunday. Okay, you've got probably the most cohesive team in Argentina with a man who's now made it to his 2nd World Cup final. If Lionel Messi and Argentina win this on Sunday, he'll probably be the greatest player ever after Sunday. And he will have leaped Pele, probably, if he can pull out a win on Sunday, which I don't know if he can. On the other hand, you got this powerhouse team who's made back-to-back World Cup finals, whose depth is just unreal. Got to remember, 6 starters are not playing on this team that made the finals. they could have a B. Their B team could probably at least be good enough to make the World Cup semis. Okay, their B team would probably beat Morocco. Okay,
Got it.
and their B team probably would beat Croatia. So the only question is would their B team beat Argentina? I don't know, but
It's like a
their
coin
B
flip.
team has A-list talent. The world's best player isn't even playing in this World Cup right now. All right?
Right.
France is just a damn juggernaut right now. Now, if France wins this World Cup, that'll be 2 World Cups for Kylian Mbappe, who's, 23 years old with 2 World Cups?
That's impressive.
I mean, if France ends up winning like 4 or 5 World Cups with him, and the way he's scoring goals and everything, I mean, sky's the limit with this dude. And, not that I'm trying to take like a Notorious B.I.G. wordology out of here, but damn. I mean, sky's the limit with this dude. I mean, it's crazy. It's just absolutely crazy to think that. So let's think about this France team for a second, okay?
Sure.
They made the finals of Euro 16. They lost in extra time on PKs to Portugal. They won World Cup 18. They bowed out in Euro 2020 on PKs to Switzerland in a game that they had in hand and choked. Okay?
All right.
They won UEFA Nations League 2021, the 22 finals, which were 6 months ago. Okay?
Okay.
And now they're on the verge of winning World Cup 22. And this team is young enough to go to Euro 24 and probably do the same kind of work, and has more than enough talent where many of this same group will be back for World Cup 2026. Plus whatever new faces could be there.
Got it.
It is damn scary.
It has to be scary.
I mean, scary. Now, let me say this. If there was a team that could beat this France team on Sunday, it would be this Argentina team. A lot of veterans, okay, on this team. This team is deep, has tons of experience, okay?
All right.
They play as a unit. I mean, France eliminated Argentina in World Cup 18. And probably the most competitive game France had at that World Cup. And there were lots of goals scored by both teams. If Argentina can figure out a way to lessen the French attack, they can definitely win this game on Sunday. Now, what did I say during our World Cup preview show in November? That I want to pick France, but there's one reason why I can't pick them.
Please explain to our audience about that for those that are listening.
The reason why I picked Argentina over France was because France has a little bit of a weakness, I feel, defensively. They're without some of their better defensive players. And they sometimes play a little lackadaisical in the back. Now, they haven't had a game where they've had to deal with drama yet in this World Cup. They haven't had to go to PKs. They've won every game handily and been in control in every game. But they haven't faced a team like Argentina yet. I mean, now if France was playing Spain, I think that would have been a way tougher matchup for them. And France is better than Portugal. I don't think France would have had an issue with Portugal. But had Spain beat Morocco and then beat Portugal and played France in the semifinal, I think Spain would have been able to present major issues because those teams are very familiar with each other. And they played each other about 6 months ago in a very, very tight game, which France won 2-1. But just like with France, I talked about Spain. Spain's issue is they don't have a true number 9 striker, and they occasionally let down on a play, which is why they lost to Japan. And they shouldn't have lost to Germany. That Spain team wasn't exactly in prime form for this World Cup, I'd say. That team seemed a little bit off. Now, back to the game at hand for Sunday.
Right.
Okay. I mean, France has veteran experience, but they don't have the veteran experience that this Argentina team has. This is more like veteran experience against youth because, yeah, I know some of these guys on France are World Cup champions and played in 2018. But this group with Argentina, a lot of these guys were there back in 2014 when they made the World Cup final. Okay? When they lost to France at World Cup 18 in a very good game. And now look where we're at. This group is veteran. It's hungry. This is this group's last hurrah. Okay? Because after the World Cup, Messi ain't playing for the national team no more. This is it.
That's what he's doing.
Di Maria, Messi, Dybala, all these cats. This is their last hurrah. You're going to see a whole new generation for Argentina after this World Cup. You're going to see probably 7 or 8 new starters on this Argentina team after this World Cup is done, going forward. Okay? Because I don't think Lionel Messi's not going to play in the next World Cup. I just, maybe I'm wrong, but
And plus,
I
he's getting
don't see it.
older.
I mean, I don't see it, but you know what? Who knows?
Right.
You
He's
know,
like 30 some odd years old. I think like 35 or something like
yeah,
that.
39. I doubt he's going to be there. I doubt it. This is his last hurrah. This is it. So,
And
I think I think Argentina is hungry enough and they're focused enough. I think they're going to pull it out.
because
I think they're going to pull it out.
and I actually do have the total of that game, by the way. You can go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. I like that.
So right now, for the 2 games, the Saturday would be Croatia. That's a 2.5, and then the Sunday game is 2. So both of those are like a plus 180 for the championship game.
I think there's going to be more than 2 goals scored on Sunday. I just sense it. I sense Argentina and France are just going to score goals on each other. I could see this game. I could see this game being 2-2 in like the 80th minute, and then somebody scores a goal to make it 3-2. And then the team that's down is going to press very hard, and they're going to have to move up their defensive line to try to generate more offense. And the team that's winning 3-2 is going to get like a late breakaway and score a goal to make it 4-2 late.
Because you already answered my question on that one.
I sense a lot of goals on Sunday.
You already answered my question with that one. And the Saturday game is Croatia and Morocco. That's a 2.5. That's a Saturday game at 10.
I'm gonna take the under in that game. I think that game will be 1-0, and Croatia don't give a damn. No offense. That third place game means a lot more to Morocco than it does to Croatia. So I'm gonna take Morocco for the win.
Gotcha.
Got to remember, believe these two teams played each other in group play also.
Right. Just in case people forget about that.
So, and they played to a scoreless draw, I believe, in group play. So, my thinking is I'll take Morocco 1-0.
Gotcha. And you said it's going to be under.
I'll take the under.
Gotcha.
This game means more to Morocco, and it means more to Africa than it does Croatia. Because up until this tournament, no African team has ever made the semifinals. And a third place finish sounds a lot better than a fourth place finish at the World Cup.
Right, because that's like the biggest accomplishment for a team in Africa.
So it means more to Morocco, and I think they're going to go out there and play tough, and they're going to handle business on Saturday.
And they can use that motivation for the next World Cup.
Yep, exactly. So I'm going to take Argentina to win. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I'm not going to be shocked if France wins. Right. I picked Argentina at the beginning of this World Cup.
And I did the same thing
through it. I mean, part of me really wants to take France and flip, but I'm going to roll with Argentina like I did. And I'm going to tell you, I think it's going to be a 2-2 game or 2-1. And then it's going to be a tie game with about 10 to 15 minutes left, and somebody's going to score a goal, and it's going to force the other team to play at a higher line and move their offense up, and then they're going to get countered, and they're going to give up another goal, and it'll be a 2-goal loss for somebody. But I expect the over. So I'm going to go 3-1 or 4-2.
Gotcha.
But I'm going to say this. I'm going to put I'm picking Argentina to win, but I could see France winning 4-2. I could see France winning 3-1. I could see Argentina winning 3-1. I could see Argentina winning 4-2. I just think there's going to be goals. And I think whoever wins this game is going to win this game just like how I told it.
Yes, exactly.
We'll see if I'm right on Sunday. I usually have a pretty good prognostication record for things for some strange reason.
That's a great one. Okay, now we can talk to some NFL, especially tonight's game, because this Thursday night football game should be exciting out of all the Thursday night football games we previously watched.
Well, it's a game. This game has the biggest impact of any of the Thursday night games this year, because you have the Niners at 9-4, and you have the Seahawks reeling at 7-6.
Because they really need this game. The Seahawks really need to win this game.
I mean, if the 49ers win this game, right, they've essentially clinched the NFC West.
Right.
There'll be 3 games up. There'll be 3 games up with 3 games to play. I mean, it's pretty much a wrap. If they win tonight, that they're going to win the West.
Right. And the Seahawks schedule is very tough after they play the 49ers.
I mean, the Seahawks should have won last week. You can't give up 200-plus yards to Carolina on the road. And, they blew that game. And that score didn't reflect how bad they played. It read 30-24, but they got to give me touchdown at the end. So, yeah. And San Francisco can run the ball. And Seattle can't stop the ball.
And that's the issue.
I mean, this game's on the road. This is Brock Purdy's first real road test.
Yes.
Mr. Irrelevant.
Exactly.
Hey, if he plays like he did the last two games, man, they may not need Trey Lance going forward. And I'm not joking about that.
Right, because they thought Trey Lance was going to be the new guy.
And if they can figure out a way to trade Trey Lance and get him off the books and Jimmy G off the books,
right?
I don't think they'll trade Trey Lance. I think they're just going to keep him healthy. But if Brock Purdy plays the way he does, there's no reason to bring Jimmy G back after this season. Just let Jimmy G walk in free agency. Boom. Done.
And I'm worried about the Seahawks run defense as well against the 49ers.
I mean, and that San Francisco defense is balling right now. I mean,
exactly.
I mean, it's playing lights out right now. So,
because like you said, they're going to run the football, the 49ers. They're going to run the football.
If Brock Purdy plays like he's done the last 2 weeks, I mean, yes, they don't have Deebo Samuel now. It's not like they really needed him. No offense. The 49ers are just playing like a well-oiled machine right now. Next man up. Yeah, I got to take the Niners tonight to win.
And they're favored by like 3.
I got to take the 49ers, but let me say this. If Seattle loses this game, they go to 7-7. Okay?
Okay.
Right? And the Packers win. And the Lions lose. I mean, you're opening up the Pandora's box for the Packers to get in. I know that the Commanders and the Giants play on Sunday night.
Right.
And the winner of that game is probably going to make the playoffs. Okay?
Okay.
And the loser of that game probably won't. Because both, I mean, you got to think Washington's going to win this game being at home. But who knows? But it all, the one thing about Washington is since Carson Wentz got banged up and Tyler Heineke, who should have been the starter from day one, they should have never traded for Carson Wentz. Okay?
Got it.
The Commanders have responded. Hey, they gave Washington, they gave Philadelphia their only loss.
On Monday
they
night.
beat the Packers head-to-head. Okay?
Got it.
They did lose to the Lions. But that was a different Washington team. This Washington team plays way more focused, and they've got a lot of that defensive firepower healthy now that they didn't have at the beginning of the season. Hey, I wrote Washington off earlier after they lost to the Lions. I'm like, yeah, this team ain't crap.
But now
Ron Rivera and Tyler Heineke have turned this thing around.
They finally got
the question is, and they should have beat Minnesota, and I don't know how they blew that game. They should have beat the Vikings. Let me say this. If they beat the Giants on Sunday, they're going to make the playoffs. Ron Rivera will get them into the playoffs. The Giants, on the other hand, they would be 7-6-1.
Right. Because last week
if the Packers win, they would be 6-8.
Right.
Now, the Giants would have the head-to-head tiebreaker over the Packers, but if the Packers win out and the Giants can't win 2 games, then it's probably not going to happen. I got a sneaking suspicion the Packers are going to make the playoffs. They're going to win the rest of their games, and they're going to get in. I've said it for weeks about this scenario, Sean, and everything is lining up for the Packers to make the playoffs because they're going to beat the Rams on Monday night.
Right.
Coming off a bye week, very well rested, and Baker Mayfield's got to go on the road. Good luck.
Right. Matter of fact, the Packers are favored by 7, and the total is 39.5.
Yeah. Okay, then they've got the toughest game, I think, is Miami on Christmas Day. They get through that game, and they somehow pull off that win in Miami. You've got 2 home games in January. The Vikings
You have no problem with that.
The Vikings and the Lions, 2 indoor teams having to freeze their heinies off in cold Wisconsin. Okay, and that Vikings defense, 5 weeks in a row, they've given up over 400 yards of offense. That's a franchise record.
I did.
So their defense right now is not playing very well.
As they should.
And the Vikings should win the division. They should get a win or a tie.
But I don't think they're going to
go to the 4 games. Okay, I think they got to play the Bears again at home. So it should happen. You would think. Okay, they got to play the Bears. I'm positive. I don't know where, but
let me check the schedule. By the way, I'm checking it right.
What is Minnesota's schedule here? I mean, I know they got to play. I know they got to play. I know they play the Packers on January 1st.
All right. So the last game, they have to go to Chicago. They have to go to Chicago on the 8th. So right now they have the Colts, which is this Saturday. Then they play the Giants on the 24th. That's Christmas Eve.
And that's a winnable game for the Giants, man.
And then the Vikings have to go to Green Bay. And then Minnesota has to go to Chicago on the 1st and the 8th. So the January 1st is 4:25. So that's a late game.
Yeah, you know what? The Lions are going to lose a game between now and then, I think. The Vikings will win the division, but I don't see them doing much in the playoffs. I don't
think they're going to go to Super Bowl or nothing like that.
I don't see that, but the Lions got some very tough games coming up at the Jets, at Carolina. You know what? If the Lions pull off those 2 games, then we'll talk. Am I drinking the Kool-Aid? Yeah, I'm drinking a little bit of it.
Right.
But in terms of playoffs, you beat the Jets and you beat the Panthers on the road, then we'll start talking playoffs. We're not in the playoff talk yet because of those 2 road games. You win those 2 games and then you get a home game against the Bears, then you can start talking playoffs to me. Because then the Lions will be 8-7 with 2 games left. They could be 9-7 after that Bears game. You know, right. And if Seattle keeps reeling and one of those 2 NFC East teams doesn't perform, you know what? You might be able to get in at 9-8. You know, then it might come down to that NFC tiebreaker. You know, like who's got more wins within the division? I mean, within the conference. Because if you're matching up against, you know, here's the thing: you won't have the head-to-head tiebreaker against Seattle, but Seattle might not get the 9 wins if they don't win tonight. You know, they got a tough schedule in itself. They got the Rams and 2 scrubs after tonight.
Right.
So if they don't win tonight, I think they got to play the Jets and somebody else. I mean, not easy. I think that game against the Jets for them is on the road, if I'm not
Yes, it is on the
mistaken.
road. And that's CBS's game of the week since they're doing a doubleheader. That's like the game of the week for the early
Yeah, I
game.
mean, Seattle, they had everything in their control up until Sunday night.
Right.
Now tonight's a must win. If
That's
they
what I'm
somehow
saying.
win tonight, they're going to make the playoffs.
Right.
They win tonight, they'll get the 9 wins. Okay? They'll get the 9 wins. The real question, it might come down to who's got the best record within the NFC. Like, like the Lions. Let's look. If you look at the Lions, you got to look at all their losses, right? You lost to the Vikings. You lost
To the
to
Bills.
the Seahawks. Well, they lost.
To the
They
Dolphins.
lost to.
Dolphins.
They've lost to all 3 AFC teams they played. Right?
Lost to New England.
They lost to New England. They lost to
I said Buffalo.
and they lost to Miami. All right? So there's 3 losses. Right?
Correct.
This year everybody played an extra game this year. I'm trying to remember who was the AFC team we played this year.
Looking at it right now. No, it's not Cincinnati. I'm looking at the schedule right now. So you guys, it
was Jacksonville. We played Jacksonville.
It was
We
a
beat
blowout.
Jacksonville.
That blowout win. That was a blowout win.
We beat Jacksonville. Okay, so we've got 3 losses against AFC teams out of your 7. So that means you have hold on here. So against NFC teams, take the wins and the losses out of it. Okay. 7 minus 3 is 4. So you have 4 losses against NFC teams, and you have 6 wins against that. So you're 6-4 in the NFC. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Now, the Packers, you got to think, how many wins do they have against NFC teams? That's what you got to start thinking about. How many wins against NFC teams do they have out of their 5 right now? Well, they beat the Bears twice.
Right. They beat the Buccaneers.
They beat the Buccaneers.
They beat the Cowboys.
They beat the Cowboys.
So that's
Bears, Buccaneers, Cowboys.
That's it. The only AFC team they beat was the Patriots.
Okay, so there it is. They have 4 wins. That's an advantage for the Lions right now. Okay? That is an advantage. So we have a 2-game advantage right now, right? But this week that advantage is going to come down, go to 1 game because they got the Rams, right? While we got to play Carolina, but they got to play the Dolphins. So you're going to have, you know what? Put it like this. If the Lions were going to lose one of their 2 next games, you would prefer to lose to the Jets and beat Carolina because that would give you that inter-conference lead in terms of wins because you'd have more wins against NFC teams than AFC teams at this point. So if you're going to lose a game between the Jets and Carolina, you would prefer to lose against the Jets and then beat Carolina. Okay?
Got it.
Because then, if you won the rest of your games, you'd still be 9-8, and you'd have more NFC wins than the Packers do. There's no way that the Packers, I think, could overtake the Lions because they would have the same amount of division wins. And then I think the next tiebreaker is after like head to head is, how did you do in the division? And they would have the same record within the division. And then I think it would go to what record do you have within the NFC? And that's where the Lions that would have the tiebreaker if they can get the 9-8 and somehow beat Carolina and beat Chicago. Okay, you get those two wins right there. That pretty much sets you up for, if you somehow can win the next 3 games, you'd be 9-7. I don't know if that last game would matter. Then you'd probably make the playoffs because you'd have the better NFC record. The only thing and you'd have the tiebreaker over Washington and the Giants, but not over the Seattle. But I don't know if Seattle can get the 9 wins.
That's going to be tough, but not the last game. They should win the last game against the Rams.
I mean, put it like this. If the Dolphins just beat the Packers on Christmas Day, the Packers are pretty much done. The Packers are 1 loss away from not getting in because they're not going to get in at 8-9 with their record in the NFC, and then they don't have the tiebreaker advantage over Washington, New York. They won't have it over Detroit in the end, most likely, as long as the Lions at least beat the Bears.
Right.
Okay. If the Lions beat like the Bears and Carolina, lose to the Jets, it probably won't matter. Because because at that point, the Lions would have, 8 losses? Packers would have 9. If they lose to Miami, it wouldn't matter. So we're looking at 1 loss by the Packers and their season's done. They need 1 loss, and it's not going to happen this week. What is Washington and New York's remaining schedules? That is the good question you want to know. I know the Giants got to play the Eagles again, and that might be a meaningless game for the Eagles at the end of the season.
Right, because they're going to be resting their players.
Yeah, no reason to put those guys out there. So the Giants might actually get a win that day.
Right. So as I'm looking to the schedule for the Giants, so as I said before, they're going to play Washington on Sunday night. Then they have to go to Minnesota on Christmas Eve. On New Year's Day, they have to play Indianapolis on the 1st. And then, of course, their last game is the Eagles. This time it's going to be at Philadelphia.
If the Giants can beat Washington Sunday, they're probably going to get into the playoffs because the Eagles will probably not start their starters that last game.
Right.
And the Giants can beat Minnesota.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not saying they will.
But they should.
But they can. But I think Minnesota should be able to win that game. So I think that game at the Eagles could mean everything. It's beginning to look a lot like an 8-9 team might make the playoffs in the NFC. Or an 8-1 team will make the playoffs in the NFC. 500 or worse may get you that 7th seed in the NFC.
Who knows?
Now, let's talk about what is Washington's schedule like after this week?
All right, Washington. Because I also want to talk about the AFC as well after we do the Washington game.
Well, I think 6 spots are handled in the AFC, but we'll talk about that in a minute.
Right.
What's Washington's schedule after this week?
So after the Giants, they have to go to San Francisco on Christmas Eve. Then they play Cleveland, and then their last game against the Cowboys at Washington. So their last 2 games is at home.
Might be a meaningless game for the Cowboys other than the excitement of putting out their rival out of the playoffs.
Right. Because the Cowboys is going to clinch a playoff spot when they beat Jacksonville.
If they beat yeah. But the Eagles may already have the division clinched, and that might be a meaningless game for the Cowboys.
If they do clinch the playoff spot.
What I'm saying is the Cowboys are going to make the playoffs. That's not the question. The question is that if the Eagles win the division, then it's going to be a meaningless game for the Cowboys.
Now I see what you're saying.
The excitement of being able to take Washington out of the playoffs, or the other thing you could do is just play your scrubs, and who knows? Guess what? You might have the opportunity of playing Washington, but most likely not. Right now, it's beginning to look like the Cowboys are going to be a 5 seed. It's beginning to look a lot like Dallas at Tampa in the first round.
It wouldn't surprise me if Tampa's eliminating the playoffs. It wouldn't surprise me.
Dallas at Tampa. Okay.
All right.
Dallas at Tampa, and then you're going to get probably, let's say you'll get Dallas at Tampa. You'll get
Minnesota playing somebody.
You'll probably you'll get somebody at San Francisco. You'll get whoever probably wins the game Sunday night between New York and Washington will be at, I'll say, San Francisco, and then whatever 8-1 or 9-8 team that squeaks by at the end, or 8-9 team, is probably going to play Minnesota.
Gotcha.
So, but right now it's looking like Dallas at Tampa in the playoffs. It's really looking like that. You're going to probably get like a 500 Tampa team hosting the Cowboys. That's what it's looking like.
And the Cowboys should not have no problem beating.
For some reason, Tampa Bay owns Dallas.
Really weird.
It's weird.
And the Broncos. Don't forget about that.
But for some reason, Tampa Bay went to Dallas earlier this year and beat Dallas. First game of the season. Dallas just couldn't score any points. That's the game where Dak Prescott got hurt.
Right.
Dallas has got to figure out a way to break this curse and pull out a W.
For real.
Now, let's talk about let's get to the AFC quick here. We already know the Chiefs are the Bills, the Chiefs. Okay. We already know the Bills and the Chiefs are going to make the playoffs. Okay. Right. And we know the Dolphins are going to make the playoffs. And and we know that Tennessee is probably going to make the playoffs.
Because the real question is who's going to get home field advantage in the AFC. That's a big question.
That's the question. It's probably going to be Buffalo.
And that'll be great for them.
They've got the head-to-head over Kansas City. So you're probably thinking, 2 through 7. Let's go through it. 2 will be Kansas City. They'll host New England, it's a possibility, or the Jets.
Right.
So then we got the 3 seed. I'll take the Bengals. 3 seed against the 6 seed. Man.
Goodness gracious.
So you're talking probably the Ravens, probably a matchup of 2 AFC North teams in the 3 and the 6 spot.
Mm-hmm.
And then Tennessee would host the Dolphins, probably.
Gotcha. Because I'm looking up the playoff picture if the playoffs were to start today. Because it's okay. So,
am I right with my predictions? Because it's kind of like how I'm seeing it.
all right. So here's how. Go ahead. Because I'm looking at it to see how it works.
Yeah. So right now, you probably got to be thinking Kansas City and New England, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or right?
Right. Because the Patriots right now are in 6th place.
Okay. Who's the 7th place team?
Because the Patriots and Chargers, they're tied. They're actually tied.
And San Diego will figure out a way to screw it up.
That was getting ready to say. They'll find a way to blow it up, stink it up, like they always do.
And then you got the Jets. Oh, you got the Jets in there too. Man. Right. Could you see three well, you're only going to get 2 teams from the AFC East in there. The Chargers ain't making the playoffs. It's going to be the Ravens. It's probably going to be like the Ravens, the Jets, and the Dolphins. So 2 and 7. I'll take the Jets at Kansas City. There you go. Jets at Kansas City. Ravens at Bengals. And Dolphins at Titans. There you go.
Right. Because right now, as I'm looking into the playoff spot, it's actually Kansas City's number 1. Well, Kansas City's 1 and Bills is 1, so they're tied for first.
Yeah,
so they actually got Kansas City as 1.
But the Bills have the tiebreaker.
Right. So it should be the Bills getting the home field advantage, and that would be great for them in the playoffs. They really needed that.
I mean, I'll let me say this. I think the Titans have an advantage playing at home against the Dolphins in January. I think that's a good matchup for Tennessee if that was to happen.
And you know how Tennessee is; they'll find a way to stink it up.
No, I think Tennessee can beat Miami.
No, like as in going further. That's what I mean by that.
And then you got the Bengals and the Ravens. I mean, the Ravens' pass D is just the biggest question.
Right.
Kansas City. Other than playing against Buffalo, they can't. For some reason, the Bengals have been a thorn in their side. But against everybody else, they pretty much know what to do.
Right. If the Bengals were to play the Chiefs, I would definitely choose the Bengals.
I think it would just be a very tight game, and I don't know who to pick.
Between the Bengals and the Chiefs?
Man, you beat a team so many times, man, eventually the other team is due. I don't know, Sean.
It's kind of a coin flip for that. I see what you mean by that.
You know, now if the Bengals and Bills played each other in Buffalo, I don't think the Bengals have a chance. But if that, you know, I mean, the Bengals beat the Bills, I believe, earlier this year, but that game was in Cincinnati.
Exactly.
It's a different animal going to Buffalo. You know, you've got to hope for some fluky crap to happen, like the Vikings did in going up there and winning that game. You got to hope for fluky, fumbled snaps to happen.
And very bad weather.
You got to hope for a whole bunch of variables. That's the only way you're going to beat Buffalo in Buffalo. Other than that, it ain't going to happen. You need the perfect storm. But Buffalo on the road is susceptible. That much I will say. Very susceptible on the road. They're a different team on the road, except when they play against the teams.
I like Buffalo at home than it is on the road. Because on the road, they play a lot different.
Yeah, except when it's the Chiefs. They seem to get up for that game.
Exactly.
For some reason, they tend to want to step up for that game.
Right.
So, but
because the Chiefs are like AFC,
it's just crazy.
Right. I have a great feeling that the AFC is going to be more interesting than the NFC in the playoffs.
I would agree with that.
Because of the quarterbacks.
I mean, I think the AFC is definitely has the better teams this year. I mean, if I was let's say this, I would probably take the Bills, the Chiefs, and the Bengals over any NFC team at this point. In a game, I would pick any of those three teams to beat the NFC team at this point.
Because someone in the AFC is going to win a Super Bowl. I have Buffalo.
Buffalo, Kansas City, or Cincinnati. I would, if one of those three teams made the Super Bowl, I would pick them to win the Super Bowl over whatever NFC team was there.
And if it's Cincinnati's Super Bowl, I'm very iffy with Cincinnati because they blew it last time in the previous Super Bowls. That's my issue with them.
Cincinnati is due. But this Cincinnati team is a little bit different than last year's team.
At least they're working better with their offensive line. I'll give them credit for that.
That's why I would pick any one of those three teams if they made it out of the AFC, as long as they're healthy. As long as they're healthy, no major injuries to some star player or somebody super important like on the offensive or defensive line. No major injuries. Any one of those three teams could win the Super Bowl if they get out of the AFC.
Right.
So I definitely think the talent lies more in the AFC than the NFC at this point, but these playoff scenarios are just...
It's so interesting now since they expanded.
It's just crazy. And after Sunday night, when the Commanders and the Giants are done, and assuming the Packers win Monday, man, things are just going to be even crazier in the NFC.
Exactly. And as a matter of fact, while you was talking, actually, tomorrow's going to be the beginning of the bowl game. That's the Bahamas Bowl. That's Miami, Ohio, and University UAB. That's 11:30 game tomorrow.
I'll take the Blazers.
I ain't gonna even watch it anyway. So it's like, what's the point? So they're supposed to be.
I will take the Blazers to beat Miami of Ohio before the 642 fans at the game.
And then there's another one called the Duluth. I didn't even know Duluth sponsored a bowl game. Duluth Trading Cure Bowl. That's University Texas San Antonio against Troy.
I'll take the Roadrunners.
All right. Because I'm looking at these one. I know, and then it's another one, the Jimmy Kimmel Bowl. That's Washington State and Fresno State. That's a 3:30 game.
I'll take Washington State.
Gotcha. Trying to see who's playing the Ford Field. What's that bowl game? It's that Ford Field. Oh, the Quick Lane Bowl. is New Mexico State and Bowling Green. That's a day after Christmas.
I will take Bowling Green.
Gotcha. And then what's going to be interesting? That Rose Bowl is going to be interesting between Penn State and Utah. I say Utah's going to win that one.
I'm going to take Penn State.
Because that's a really tough one.
Actually, you know what? Let me flip that. Yeah, give me Utah. I don't trust.
That's what I'm saying. It's a tough one. But it should be interesting, though.
It'll be interesting, that's for sure. Utah's going to have to be able to run the ball because Penn State's got a good secondary.
Exactly, because by the time after next week, we'll be on vacation. Then let's see, Alabama and Kansas State. That'll be a New Year's Eve, as at the Superdome.
Is that the Sugar Bowl?
Yeah, that's the Sugar Bowl. That's the Sugar Bowl.
Alabama's got nothing to play for. Give me Kansas State.
Right. What else? I forgot where USC is playing at. USC's playing, what type of bowl they're playing?
They're playing Tulane in the Cotton Bowl.
Really?
Yeah.
This is probably going to be like a dull bowl game for that one.
I think a lot of points will be scored.
And plus, USC don't play enough play defense anyway. So go figure.
They should be able to beat Tulane.
All right. Oh, and by the way, so we're going to be editing the show. And by the way, you can also listen to the show on Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, and Apple Podcasts. So is anything you're doing, Anthony?
Not much.
Okay.
Not too much.
Okay.
Just gonna sit back this weekend and watch some football.
Right, 3 NFL football games on Saturday, and then probably watch one bowl game tomorrow.
A lot of football this weekend, spread out.
Right.
A lot of football.
Thank God I got YouTube TV, so I'll probably be able to watch 2 of the bowl games.
It'll be interesting, that is for sure. The bowl season has begun. Holiday bowl season is here.
Right, because I did not know Duluth even sponsored a bowl game or cricket. Because I'm looking at these companies. Like,
I didn't even know there was a Jimmy Kimmel Bowl.
Yes, there is. And I didn't even know Serve Pro actually sponsored a bowl game.
Modern day miracles do happen, Sean.
Exactly. But I do know like AutoZone, and I know Cheez-It does. And is it Valero? If I'm saying it right.
Yeah.
And Barstool. I knew Barstool was doing a bar.
Yeah, they were supposed to do one like 2 years ago, and COVID scrapped it, like the Arizona Bowl or something.
Gotcha. And I think as a new sponsor the Fiesta Bowl when Michigan plays. It's called
is it PlayStation this year?
It's VRBO.
Oh yeah. PlayStation and Tostitos is no longer doing the Fiesta Bowl.
That sucks.
It's a damn shame. I like Tostitos. That was a perfect match. Tostitos and or they could have just had Doritos, Tostitos.
Right.
They could have just called it the Frito-Lay's Fiesta Bowl.
Right. Mostly people eat Tostitos on New Year's anyway. Mostly the New Year's shit.
Yeah, that's why I said it was perfect. It was absolutely perfect.
Right. And don't forget the cheese with it.
I'm more of a pico de gallo guy myself, Sean. You know, I don't really need the cheese. Just give me the very chunky pico de gallo. Not salsa. It's got to be pico de gallo. I mean, the Mexicans got to truly make it.
Oh, okay. Now I see.
Not like the salsa you get at the store. You got to go to the Mexican part of town or the Mexican grocery store and get that true pico de gallo.
Okay.
Otherwise, white people, no offense, white people salsa don't cut it, Sean.
Just like somebody else race would make soul food.
I'm just saying. Sometimes you just gotta go right to the heart of it, and get it from the, get it as authentic as it can be. Otherwise, it just don't taste right.
Right. Matter of fact, I can go to Mexican Town.
See, that's what I mean. You go to Mexican Town in Detroit and get yourself some tamales and pico de gallo and those sugar cookies and, roll how you got to.
All right. So we're going to end this show. So we will see you guys on a future day. So
we'll see. I'll see you guys on the 22nd.
Right. Because that'll be the last week for this year. Then won't come back till after
Sean's rolling solo, or we'll have a guest on Tuesday, and I'll be back on Thursday for the last show of the year.
Exactly. All right. You guys have a nice and wonderful weekend and Thursday Night Football.